Step-siblings who actually hooked up. How did it happen? I was fresh out of a breakup and fueled by questionable life choices. I decided to try a dating app. That's where I met Jake. Jake had this magnetic confidence, the kind that made you forget about the snowstorm raging outside or the fact that you were trying too hard to act aloof. Our first date was a disaster in every way except the ways that mattered. I slipped on ice twice, my makeup was ruined, and I couldn't stop apologizing. But he didn't seem to care. By the end of the night, we were in love. We were laughing like old friends. What started as a simple date quickly escalated into a no-strings-attached situation. We clicked in a way that felt easy, and neither of us was looking for anything serious. For a few months, we were just two people having fun and ignoring the looming reality that these things rarely end neatly. Eventually, we both moved on. It wasn't dramatic, no fights. No tears. Just a mutual decision to part ways. Fast forward 2 years. My mom had been dating someone new for a while, and when she announced her engagement, I was genuinely happy for her. Tom seemed like a nice guy, and I was relieved she'd found someone who treated her well. I didn't know much about his family though, and I didn't think to ask, why would I? Then came the engagement party. I was mingling, sipping champagne, and soaking in the happy atmosphere when the door opened, and in walked Jake. It took a second for my brain to catch up. Was this real? It wasn't just the resemblance, it was him, standing there, looking as stunned as I felt. The moment our eyes met, I knew we were both thinking the same thing. Oh no. I prayed he was just a guest, a friend of Tom's, maybe even a cousin. But no, life wasn't going to be that kind. My mom's fiancé strolled arm around Jake, and introduced him as his son. His son. I froze. Jake froze. My mom, blissfully unaware, remarked how funny it was that we'd already met. We ran into each other a while back, Jake mumbled, while I desperately tried to plaster on a convincing smile. Over the next few months, we became experts in avoidance. Family dinners were carefully orchestrated exercises in not sitting too close, not making eye contact, and definitely not being alone together. It worked, mostly, until the wedding. The ceremony was beautiful, and I made it through the day without incident. But at the reception, the open bar became my downfall. By the third cocktail, I felt nostalgic, and when Jake sat at my table, we started talking. The conversation was harmless at first, jokes about old times, funny anecdotes about the wedding preparations. It felt like no time had passed. After a while, we stepped outside to escape the noise. The air was cool, and the stars were out, and suddenly, the absurdity of the situation hit us both. We laughed until tears streamed down our faces, and in that moment, it felt like we were the only two people in the world who understood how ridiculous it all was. And then we kissed. I'd like to say I didn't see it coming, but that would be a lie. One thing led to another, and we kissed. And before I knew it, we were back in the hotel room. The next morning hit like a truck. Reality set in, and we both knew we'd crossed a line we couldn't uncross. We agreed it was a mistake, a terrible lapse in judgment, and vowed never to speak of it again. Every family gathering is a minefield of awkward glances and forced smiles. My mom loves to comment on how close Jake and I have become, and Tom thinks it's great that we bonded so quickly. Meanwhile, Jake and I are doing our best to act like nothing ever happened, which is about as convincing as a kid caught with their hand in the cookie jar. The moral of the story? Always ask your parents about their significant other's family before swiping right. While bad first dates are awkward, nothing beats the cringe of trying to dodge your ex at Thanksgiving, especially when he's sitting across the table and carving the turkey.